relationship. Every relationship has it. There's just no getting around conflict coming up in relationship. It's two people, it's two human beings interacting with each other very intimately, very vulnerably on a daily basis. And when conflict becomes something to avoid, more conflict happens. When conflict is something that is repaired well, that is handled with care, that is brought with compassion and love, deeper connection happens. Less conflict happens. So, how do you navigate conflict in relationships? Well, the first thing is to not avoid it. And the second thing is to be prepared to be in it, not try to rush through it. There's different phases. There's probably 5 phases to a conflict. And the main thing is not to rush through it. As the masculine identified beings in relationships, the men, tend to want to get to that fix point, that solution point, that completion point. It's how we are wired. It's how we are wired with that structure, that completion, that fix-it mentality. Whereas women, although anyone will say, yes, I want to find a solution to this conflict. However, in order to get there, they need to be in the conflict a little bit longer. They need to feel into the emotion of it. It's how they're wired, to feel, to expand, to be in the emotions and the expression of the thing so that it processes through their body. So that can oftentimes, those two different things can oftentimes lead to extended conflicts or expanded conflicts or more heightened conflicts because there's actually conflicting energy within the conflict itself. Knowing that, it falls on the man's shoulders to develop staying power, capacity and staying power. So how can the man not get to the point, because the solution point will come, but getting there requires you to stay in the emotion, stay in the discomfort, stay in the intensity of it just a little bit longer. And so when conflict comes up, the first thing to do is to anchor your energy into your breath, to your belly, to your dantian as a man. So this channel, obviously, I'm speaking to men. So women also anchoring your breath into your womb space is very important. But speaking to the men, anchoring your breath into your dantian, that's going to create a little bit of staying power. It's going to create a grounded energy that she's going to feel. Once she feels you wanting to rush and to fix, she's not going to feel listened to. She's not going to feel heard, not going to feel seen. And she's going to further disconnect from the conflict or disconnect from you, therefore elongating the entire process. So the more you can be there, the more the faster or the more efficiently or the more smoothly you can get to the end of the conflict. So let's go through the phases. Phase 1, conflict happens. Something comes up between the two of you, anything from taking out the garbage to you said something that hurt me to anything else, anything, all the way to an infidelity thing. That conversation is a little bit different, but in general, this is the conflict comes up, and the person that brings the conflict, essentially the "you hurt me" statement or the "I feel hurt" statement, is the person that gets to be heard first. So conflict comes up, she brings something to you, and you say, "Babe, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you about that, hear all about your experience of it. Let's sit on the couch, whatever, and have the conversation." Now, within that conversation, there's a bunch of ways that you can do it. There's different strategies you can use. There's nonviolent communication, there's imago dialogue, there's active listening. All of them are useful and all of them matter. The point is there's a couple inflection points that you can get to within those conversations. And the thing that makes it all move along is the question of what else. So anytime the thing comes up, there's conflict coming up, it is what else is there? So she brings the thing to you, shares about it, her experience about it, and you say, what else? Anything else there? Yes, this, this. Okay, thank you. I hear what I hear you say is, repeat back. Anything else there? And you'll tease out the information. And then when she says, no, there's nothing else there, that feels complete, invite in a breath. Say, okay, thanks for sharing. Let's take a breath. And at that point it shifts. And so you'll get to share your experience of it. So phase 1 of the conflict happens. Phase 2 is you're in the conflict, having the conversations, going back and forth. And again, I completely understand that this is way easier said than done. in a conflict, heightened conflict, it's hard to get to it can be hard to get to a point where you're both listening to each other. You're hearing her, she's hearing you, because it's heated. This is why having done the work on yourself to create the capacity, and her as well, she's not off the hook on this, to create, both of you having done the work to create the capacity that allows for the thing to evolve compassionately, and you're not yelling at each other, calling each other's names, threatening to leave, all that stuff, will facilitate this conversation. So this particular thing is based on both people being part of a conversation that they can be heard, they can be seen, they can be felt, they can be loved through it. So once both people are done and completed their expression of the experience of the conflict, so that is moving then towards a solution. Now, when the scales tip a little bit, when the thing starts to move towards completion, is when one person can get out of their ego. You know that moment when the ego kicks on, when you say, I'm digging my heels in, I'm barely listening, and I want to be right. That's the moment that you get to catch yourself. That's the moment where you say, oh, see, I see what's happening here. I am more concerned with being right than getting it right. I am more concerned with my point coming across than actually hearing or listening or seeing where the other person's coming from. So the first person that can kind of undig their heels and say, this is the big words, what do you need right now? What do you need to hear right now? What do you need to see from me right now? What do you need right now in this moment so that you can feel heard? It shifts everything. It shifts everything into a place of spaciousness, a place where the energy goes from up here to here, where it's manageable. So that's that kind of phase 2, part B of phase 2, is at what point do you recognize that your ego is there and begin to back off the ego a little bit and start asking questions. So the end of the conflict, the moving out of the conflict into the more back into connection, back into love, back into your hearts, comes from the moment that you open back up. And so opening back up is not a doorway, it's a heart thing. And so when the heart opens back up is when the conversation shifts and turns, and people can feel each other again. So as women, they love to feel our heart. And when we close off and get defensive and get rigid and start closing off and ejecting or kind of zooming out of the conversation, then they shut down too. They don't feel safe anymore. So once that we can open our hearts back up, the whole thing will open back up. So that is when the conversation moves into kind of the ending. So I mentioned nonviolent communication. There's also a thing that I've created and that my wife and I do work on, and it is nonviolent energetics. So nonviolent energetics, if you've been in a conflict, and I'm sure you have, you can do all the right conversation techniques, you can do all the right things, hug at the end, kiss at the end, and then you walk away and you're like, something doesn't feel complete there. That's because the energetics have not completed. And the way to honor the energetics of the conflict and honor the energetics of the solution is there's some physical stuff you can do. You can take a step in, literally take a step towards the person your wife that you're in conflict with. You can, if you're seated, a lot of times conflict can be kind of you're half turned towards each other. Turn fully to your wife. Turn fully and be in front of that person. It signals I am here. I'm not going anywhere. These are all energetic things that that are in the category of nonviolent energetics. So so now the energy's been taken care of, the conversation's been taken care of, everyone's been felt, heard, seen, you're back into the love. The next thing is aftercare. So could look makeup sex, could look a long embrace, it could look going for a walk, there's something, it's just aftercare and sex. It is, what are you doing to take care of each other's nervous systems so it's not just a drop? You know, they say the better you fight, the better you fuck. That means that the better you do conflict, the better you work through all the phases of conflict, translates to how well you are intimate in the bedroom. And so a lot of the same phases apply. It is the entry point, the being in it, the caring for each other in it, the being kind to each other in it, the moving, the completion of it, and then the aftercare. Aftercare in conflict gets lost a lot because everyone, again, wants it to be done. Want to move on. Can we get on with this? Those few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, if it's a walk, whatever it is, after the conflict are some of the most important parts of the conflict, because that's the thing that seals it. That's the thing that can, especially for the feminine. As men, again, oh, it's over, good. We said our piece, we made up, we kissed. The woman needs to feel some sort of taper down. And honestly, we do too. We think we need that completion, that get through it. But honestly, if we can honor the ending and the transition out with aftercare from conflict, we will all feel a lot better. And what it does is so the way that you navigate conflict is going to be a direct barometer of how well you navigate everything in your relationship. And so as you honor these phases of conflict, the thing that gets the most, the kind of lasting effect here is that it creates trust and safety in the overall of the relationship. So conflict gets worse when there's not safety and trust involved. So conflict is easier and both people can be a part of it more as you begin to just layer on safety and trust every time. And so there's a couple things that I didn't speak to in the conflict, general things, not so much in the phases, but general things. There's a couple. One is the digging heels in, a couple of recognitions within conflict. So there's the digging the heels in and releasing the dig and getting out of the ego. And just there's 3 stages of how people's ego really comes online in conflict. The first one is, what do I want? What do I need? That is I'm going to be right. I'm going to get my point across no matter what. The second stage is, what does this other person need? What does my wife need? What does she need right now so that she can feel safe, come back to me a little? I can invite her back towards me a little bit. The third stage is, what does love need? So there's another way to look at this, same kind of concept, but a little different, is a conflict in a marriage is not you against me, him against her. It is you two against the thing. There's an energy about the thing, the conflict. What is it that's trying to pull you apart and cause you to close down? When the moment that the both of you can, and my wife and I do a great job of this, is that we pretty much go into conflict at this point knowing that it's not me against her or her against me, it's us against the thing. And so that doesn't mean that we're not going to have the conflict. It's not all roses and puppies after that. But what it means is that we get to navigate conflict a lot smoother because we know that no matter what, we're not ever not on the same team in the conflict. So those are 2 things to consider high level about conflict. And again, the phases of conflict are the initiation of the conflict, the actual being in the conflict where you get to use the communication techniques, and also then beyond the communication techniques, look at the nonviolent energetics of the whole thing. How is your energy? Because the energy you hold in the conflict is going to mimic or going to lead you, the follow through is going to be to the energy that's clean when the conflict is over. Next phase is the going to solution, making sure both people feel heard, making sure both people feel their needs have been met, nervous system's back in regulation. The next phase, the 4th phase, aftercare, making sure that it's not just a cut after the conflict, making sure that you're in you're both leading each other's nervous systems back to regulation and completion from the conflict before you move on. One thing to also think about is the pre-conflict. Oftentimes conflict is not ever out of the blue. Maybe it is sometimes, but for the most part, there's usually things that were left unattended to that lead to the conflict. So the conflict is some sort of energetic trying to find its way to the surface. Some sort of truth that has been left unattended or looked away from is trying to find its way to the top, to the surface. And if it's not done intentionally or actively, it will usually find its way up through conflict. So as you begin to look at deeper into relationships and how patterns and behaviors and cycles happen with conflict, it is very important to look at the pre-conflict thing. What was happening leading up? What was it? Was it crunchy in the mornings, or was there something that happened the night before that didn't really get resolved? Or just asking those questions can lead to further recognition and awareness of what of what the triggers could be or what the activations can be of the other person. So it's really becoming attuned to each other so that the conflict, which is unavoidable, will become softer as you begin to move through the relationship and conflict. So hope that helped. Thanks for subscribing.